Okay, so let's pick up where we left off last time. I'm going to leave the A-list tool here so that we can monitor whatever changes we're making. And we're going to have a look at the message converter here. And I'm going to drag it just before the A-list tool, because if I put it here, what I'm seeing in the A-list tool are the actual messages before they get converted. So I want to put this before the tool. Right, quick breakdown of the interface. We have the in section, and this is the message that goes into the tool. And then we have the out section, and that's the message that leaves the tool, right? So here's where our transformations happen. And then we have some extra options down here, which are very, very powerful, and I can't wait to talk about those. But let's start with the basics, right? So right now what we're doing is we're converting note on messages to note on messages. So, no conversion is happening. Whenever you select the same type of message, both in the input section and the output section, nothing changes, right? If I go to my A-list tool, I press a note on, note off. The note number is 72, the velocity was 43, nothing changes. Now let's turn our note on message into a note off message, right? Let me look at the A-list tool again. Let me clear the list and have a look at that. Now we have two note off messages. Originally we had a note on message here, now it's a note off message. And then of course my actual note off message got through unscathed. Let's do the opposite. Let's turn note off messages into note on messages, right? So let's clear this. I'm gonna press my pad here again. And as you can see now we have two note on messages. But notice how they don't have the same velocity. That's quite interesting. So as I pressed my pad, the intensity with which I pressed it was 93 out of 127. But the note off message that was converted into a note on message does not have 93. And it does not even have 0, right? Like the original note off message. But that I can understand, because a note on message with a value of 0, that's basically a note off message. So I can understand that the tool here needs to find a different value, something other than 0. But why not why not 93? Why 64? Let's try that again. Let me press my pad more softly. Right, so now I have a note on velocity of 37. My note off, which got converted into a note on message, still has 64. Well, the reason for that is in this option down here. That's the fill byte, right? If I set this to, 10, let me clear the list here. As you can see, now we have 10. So very useful option down here for this kind of situation. Now, of course, you can do all sorts of conversions, right? We could turn note on messages into program change messages. Why not? Let's monitor that. Press my note again. And as you can see, my note on part of the message has now become a program change. And of course, the value of the program change is going to be the actual note number. And we can see that on the note off message, it was 72, which means C4. And so the program change message we're sending is, message number 72. Basically, we're selecting our 72nd preset here. Not true, because the numbering starts at 0, so this would be our 73rd preset, right? But this could be very, very handy if you have a keyboard without any buttons that you could assign to program change messages. This way you can use your actual keys to switch through different presets. Very cool stuff. Let's do some more here. Let's convert control change messages. And I have here, as you can see, two knobs. If I turn this one, you can see that this is CC number 1, and here are the different values in this column. Let's do something basic. Let's convert this to CC number 7, say, right? And we're going to set number 1 as the source, right? So here we go. Now we have CC number 7. Let's try something more interesting. Let's convert any note on message to CC number 7. Let's clear this. I'm going to press my note here again. And look at that. The note on message got converted to CC7, and the value of CC7 is determined by the note on velocity. So if I press this more softly, now we're sending a value of 44. Now, you can also use, pitch wheel messages, aftertouch messages. It's incredible the amount of things you can do here. I would show you an RPN and all of that, but I never really use those. So, let's try that. Let's convert CC number 1 to RPN. I have no idea what this is, by the way. Okay, interesting. So, seems like it sent a bunch of messages and the values are 0 and 0. So those we can probably set here, right? Let me set this to 3 and 5. And move my slider again. Yeah, so we got 3 and 5, but then it's also sending a data entry kind of message. Okay, this is very confusing to me. I have no idea what this is, but I've showed you that it works, right? We converted CC1 into whatever the hell this is. So that's possible. Now, let's talk about some of the options you have down here. And let me set this back to something more reasonable, like note on to note off, right? Now, we could change the channel of the converted message, right? So now I press my key here. It's all note off, as you can see, but the converted message has a different channel from the original message, right? We had note on channel 1, now it's channel 16. So that's useful for channel conversion of specific types of messages as well. We could even avoid converting our messages, right? We could just simply use this to change the channel of just note on messages. Like that, right? We didn't change the type of message, just the channel. And it's beautiful because usually with channel conversion tools, every single type of MIDI information will be moved onto the new channel. But here we can be more specific. We could still, send our CC number 1 on channel 1 and just switch channel for note on messages, which is pretty cool, I think. So you got that option. You can duplicate the original message as well. This is pretty cool too. So let's convert note on messages to, say, control change messages, right? Look at that. I'm sending C4, the actual note, plus I'm also sending CC number 7 with a value of 94, which is the velocity, right, with which I press the note. So I'm actually adding new messages on top of the previous ones. Very powerful feature. And then let's talk about this one, because this used to confuse me for the longest time, the exchange data bytes system. So let's have a look at the data here, right? The first number here is basically a combination of the type of message and the channel, right? So a note on kind of message on channel number 1 means 144. Let me just quickly change my channel here so that I can show you how this changes the value here, right? As you can see, a note on message on channel 16 now is not 144 anymore, it's 159. So that's the first column here. The second column is specific to the message. So for note on messages, this number 72 identifies the note number. So C4 is going to be 72. If I press a different pad here, C sharp is going to be 73. As you can see, the first number is still 159 because it's still a note on type of message on channel 16. So that doesn't change, but this second column does change, right? Different numbers or different notes. And then, of course, the third column, we've mentioned this already, that's the velocity in the case of note on messages. If we had a CC type of message, first of all, notice how the message type plus channel combination number is different. This number identifies the type of CC, so we have CC number 1 here, and that's the actual value, right? Higher values on the right side of my knob, and if I turn it to the left, lower values. Now, this is quite different for something like aftertouch. So let me show you aftertouch. And, bear with me because this is all going to make sense in just a second. So first I'm going to clear my list here. Then I'm going to press my pad and I'm going to keep it pressed and change the degree, the intensity to which I'm pressing this, right? That's my aftertouch message. I reach the very, very bottom, and that's the value of 127. I release my finger a little bit, lower pressure values, and then if I release it completely, we got our note off message. But notice the difference between something like a note on message and aftertouch. Note on needs the second column to display different numbers because we have different notes. And then each of those different notes has its own velocity, right? For aftertouch messages, we don't even need a third column. We can display the intensity on the second column because there's no different types of message that we need to display. Like we had different note numbers or different CC numbers. No, channel aftertouch, there's only one. And so we can use the second column to display the value, the actual pressure. Which makes sense, but that could be a problem if we're converting messages, because say we wanted to convert something like this, my CC message. Now that CC has the type of CC in the second column and the intensity of the effect on the third column. And so when I convert this, the second column information is going to be my aftertouch value, meaning I cannot have different degrees of pressure. It's always just going to be 1 for CC1, or if I have CC127, it's always going to be channel aftertouch 127. Let me show you what I mean. Let's convert control change number 1 to channel aftertouch messages. Look at this. I'm turning my knob. No matter the position of the knob, I'm getting the information from that second column, right? So it's always going to be 1. And that is why we need the exchange data bytes function. I click this, the third column and the second column of the original message will be switched. And so I can turn my knob and finally I can have different degrees of intensity for my channel aftertouch effect. So very, very, very useful stuff. And I hope this gives you an idea of just how powerful MidiPipe is. Consider that this is just one out of many, many tools we have here. And we're going to go through each single one of these. So next in our journey, we're going to have the delay tool here. And since this one is pretty simple and straightforward, I'm going to throw in the transpose tool as well on the next video. So please look forward to that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.